Hi, Ulrich. I'm so excited that I get to chat with you about this intriguing show. How was Hannes's background as a journalist described to you?
You broke up where he was what?
What is his background as a journalist? How is it described to you?
Oh, he's an investigating journalist, investigative journalist, and yeah, and I mean, it's described a little bit in the scenes where he's thrown out of America because he didn't have permits and shit, so yeah, no, he takes matters in his own hands for sure. You know, I think you have to in those kinds of you're dealing with dodgy companies and stuff, they want, they're not going to open the door to you and just let you in. So you got to be a little, sneaky and naughty on that account to get your information out.
Well, it seems like he dives head first or feet first into the investigation that Sonia has already started. Does
Right.
he feel a loyalty to her because he's newly found out that they're family, or is it also because it's an intriguing investigation piece that she's begun?
It is. I think this is my own thing. I don't know what the writer feels, but I think because he didn't know of the daughter for 30 years, and that just plunges right into his life. Um, if let's say she drowned and that was that, then I think he would leave again, because everything very soon starts to unravel, and his whole buddy slash enemy, uh, Ragnar, is also involved, so that of course, wants him to stay and try to solve the mystery. But he left your Faroe Islands for personal reasons, and it's not his favorite place to go, which is of course is good trauma. He has to go back, he has to stay there, he has to face his old girlfriends and the mother and the whole reason why he leaves. So he's just, yeah, it's soon it becomes a sort of a full package for him. He wants to find out. I think maybe he wants to find out more what happened, more than that it's his daughter. I think that's just me, because it's so far away from, it's 30 years ago. She was there and then she's not there. But of course it's part of it. It's not that he doesn't care that it's the daughter, but if he knew, it would have been different if he knew he had a daughter and he left her and he's been talking to her in and out, and then all of a sudden she calls him up and has issues the way she has, and I think that would be different than if all of a sudden she dies. But now that he doesn't know her, know that she's there even, and then as it exists, I think it's slightly different. But no, no, for sure, he's not cold-hearted. It is his daughter still, and he finds out that it is his daughter. So
The scene where you're wading through the water was incredibly emotional. Talk about filming that.
difficult. Cold water, very cold water, all year long in Faroe Islands. Nothing there. I think it's 10 degrees Celsius, which is what is that? 40 Fahrenheit or something. It's freezing fucking cold. And the tricky bit, of course, is the fact that she's easy to carry when she's floating in the water, but as you walk up, you have to struggle with the surface of not the surface, the bottom of the ocean, which is full of pebbles and wobbly. There's holes and stuff, and then as he gets up to the surf, he has to lift her. I have to lift her out of the water, and this is like dead weight all of a sudden, and heavy, and I have to then carry her and put her gracefully down on the sand. You can't just at that point just want to let go of the, which you can because it's a real person lying there. So that was we had to do it a few times because the tricky bit was the transformation from the water to the actual lifting. And there were two things going on. There was me having worked out for extensive amount of time to actually do that lifting, but there's some technique that we found out, and I got used to the surface. I keep saying surface, the bottom of the ocean, which is slippery, but but then, and then the acting part of it, because you also, even though you're struggling, you have to keep the character face. It can't just be like a personal Ulrich struggling with a too heavy person. Then it takes you out of the moment. As an audience. So it was a difficult one, for sure difficult. But I think we got it eventually.
Well, the scene in the bar was quite emotional for me as well, where he punches the patron and he
Right.
says, "That's my daughter." I found it very interesting that he admits that it's his daughter and that sort of no one kind of picks up on that. He says it's his daughter and he fully believes at that point that it is his daughter.
Yeah.
Does he see the similarities in her? Does he just trust because of her activism background? What is it that he truly believes makes her his daughter until
But at
later
that
on?
point, he owned me some years ago now. But at that point, he knows it's he has hasn't he knows at that point it's his daughter, right?
Oh no, he hasn't gotten any kind of confirmation at that point. He just,
Ah,
it's shortly after the water scene, uh, where he just punches the patron because he says, that's my daughter, and he's readily admitting to it. And I was interested that not many of the locals picked up on the fact that he
right.
shouted about it. But
I mean, there might be an error. There might be two things. It could be that the scene was, because I don't remember that, because it's some time now. I don't remember, the scene could be moved from another episode to here, and that piece of information is there. And as you pick up now, then what about this and that? I'm not sure, but you're right. I mean, I can't answer that. I don't know what to say to that, but that's a good point.
well, every single moment is intense and every single edge of your seat kind of watching, as they say. Was there a specific scene that was more difficult or maybe more of a challenge for you to film outside of wading through freezing cold water? Was there something that really struck a nerve for you?
I mean, it's the part in itself is it's emotional, it's internal. Because what happens also in his past life and what happens now, and so it's everything is it's just drama. Everything has to be filled with either withheld anger or anger. So I mean, there's no moment where you just like sit on a bench and look over the ocean, and just film it. It always it's this it's it has to be filled with something, and but also because of his past. I mean, now the past was a little more it's a little more explicit in the scripts. I think they toned it down because he left the Faroe Islands because of reasons of he was involved with the in crime and the police and drugs and stuff. So he left this woman who was pregnant at that time. He didn't know. So and all that comes back. With her vengeance. And he has to deal with all that and try to some sort of remorse and redemption and. So everything is hyper tense all the time. It's never he can never let go. He's always faced with his brother or his enemy, Ragnar, who's his friend, and then the dead daughter and the wife, and so there's no just moment of. I guess it's also why he explodes in the bar. The fuse is so short with this guy. So yeah, goes with the whole nature of the place. It's intense. You can't shoot in the Faroe Islands and then for this, because it's drama, you don't have to go with the nature. Otherwise, if you just jump and skip around like a happy bunny, then it doesn't just go well with the waves and the rocks and the weather. It has to mean something. Otherwise there's no reason to shoot up there.
Well, the
This has to be,
cinematography is beautiful to
yeah.
this. I think it captures each of the intensity and of every moment of the important shots that we get. Um, So I think that's such well done in this series as well. Um, and he does have such a distrust and a distaste for the police, and he's hears the recordings that Sonia has left of this. So I think that's sort of what motivates him, redemption, and also he wants to find justice at the same time. So I think it's beautifully explored through the series as well. Is that what you think is going to make it a fan favorite? The fact that each moment your heart is racing, each moment you want justice for Sonia, each moment you're wondering how far Hannes will go for her?
I hope so. Yeah, no, I hope so. For sure. You explained it very well. Yeah, yeah. It's definitely. I think it's a special piece. You know, it has its own vibe. It doesn't look like any other show. Just also because of the, where it's shot. Because essentially it's a crime show. It's like so many others. I like that genre, so I don't. It's not nothing against that. On the contrary, but it's just it's a different setting. It's a different has a different vibe. It's a different has a different depth and an attitude in some ways. So I think just for that reason, I hope it will sit well with people. It's a different language as well. Even that's exotic to some. you know.
Well, I think you invest in watching it right away. You're interested in Sonia and the work that she's put in, and you want justice for her, as I mentioned, but you also want to see how far Hannes is willing to go because of his past and because he is a journalist. And I guess maybe it's the journalist in me as well that wants
Right,
to
right.
see.
No, he wants to go all the way for sure. He's not going to let go. He's definitely not going to let go. And I know they're working on a second season, and I read the pilot, but I don't know. They're trying to put it together for sure. Whether explore even more, go into his past and all that. So I hope they can get it up and running.
Well, I'm ready.
Yeah, yeah. No, me too. We all ready.